Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I am continuing an ongoing series that we refer to as Ask a Witch. I know we've been doing a lot of these lately and I promise we will get into our longer, more historical content again. But we've been being sent so many questions, actually like a couple a day, and I feel really bad that I don't get to all of them. So I'm thrilled. Please keep sending in your questions. I'm having a blast answering them. This one was sent to me because we did previously film videos on the warning signs of a cult and warning signs like red flags when you get involved with any kind of group in any religion, culture, tradition, spiritual path, walk of life, etc. These cults of personality can occur anywhere, but they definitely occur in the magical community. And sometimes people are seeking out spirituality when they are in their most vulnerable state. That's when we turn to faith a lot of the time, when things are already going pretty poorly for us, when we need help. And there are those who try to take advantage and shouldn't be trusted. So we've already done videos on those red flags and how to recognize them and when to get the fuck out. But I got sent a different question, which was, what are the green flags when you get involved with a new group? And I think that's a fantastic question. So let's get into it. Please keep in mind, this is my answer. It will neither be 100% comprehensive, nor will it necessarily match what somebody else would say are green signs when joining a group. So, make up your own mind, determine what works best for you, and primarily keep a support circle, ideally, that isn't part of the group. But I'm aware that that's not always possible. So, green signs in a group that you are considering joining. They encourage individuality, critical thinking, and self-reflection. They actually encourage you to get to know yourself, to understand who you are as a person, to be comfortable with who you are as a person, which is not the same as, thinking it's okay to, well, I'm just who I am, and if I'm being an asshole, that's fine. No, that's not what I mean. And to self-reflect and to make up your own mind. One of the key tenets that a safe group should have is the idea that someone should look inward and determine what works best for them, what works best for their spiritual health, for their emotional well-being, and for their connection to their magic and the magic of the world around them. That is always going to be an intensely individual thing, and everyone needs to sort that out for themselves, figure out what makes them feel empowered and strong and confident in their practice. If a person struggles with something that they're being taught, that might not be, I'm trying to figure out how to put this. Back up, rewind. Think about this in the context of American schooling, which is appallingly bad at this. When a student struggles in school, it's often treated as a problem with the student. Not that they're being taught in a way that doesn't work for them, not that maybe their strengths lie elsewhere and there are certain subjects that they flourish in and are fantastic at and should be encouraged in. And oftentimes, rather than accommodating these differences and encouraging individuality and critical thinking, our schools do the exact opposite, and they punish individuality, and they want everyone to do a certain degree of good across all subjects, and they don't use individuated instruction that is geared towards how different people learn. And of course they don't encourage critical thinking because our schools are still designed to create factory workers for factories that don't exist anymore. If a group treats you as if being an individual and having your own talents and your own strengths and having your own desires and being you is a bad thing. If they punish autonomy, if they punish individuality, that's a bad thing. If they encourage individuality, if they encourage that you make up your own mind, if they encourage that you flourish where you flourish, and if they encourage that you reflect upon what works for you and reject this one-size-fits-all witchcraft, that's a good sign. That's a green flag. Okay. If the group not only allows, but actually integrates the beliefs of other people, that is a green flag. However, please note that this green flag can be a yellow flag as well. So let me explain what I mean by that. It is a very good thing when groups can welcome different cultural perspectives, different belief systems. So if you come into a group and you're like, well, I'm really more like questioning and agnostic about all of this, and they're like, cool, that's fantastic. Let's, welcome that and support it and celebrate it. Or if you come into a group and you're like, no, I absolutely believe that all of the gods are real, all religions are real, magic is completely 100% real. And they're like, cool, that's fantastic. Let's allow for that in our spaces and accommodate that variation on belief systems. We can all work together with one person being more questioning and one person being more like deeply theistic. That works. That's a green flag. If it's, well, we take from all cultures and we're very eclectic and we're actually so welcoming of all different belief systems that we just don't see any divisions. What do you mean it's cultural misappropriation? We don't, we are not divided from people that way. We are, yeah, you know the type. Right? That would be a yellow flag, if not a red flag. So there's a good way to have welcoming of all perspectives, and there's a bad way to have welcoming of all perspectives. But essentially the green flag is not being stripped of your individual identity and your individual belief system in order to learn with or from that group. You should still be able to believe what you believe, even if you're learning something new. And maybe your beliefs will shift over time naturally because they do that, and that's normal and healthy. But being told that what you believe is evil or bad or wrong and that you have to stop believing it in order to belong, that's a red flag. Being told, wow, that's a unique perspective that you bring to our group and we're so thrilled that you feel safe to share it with us, that's a green flag. Okay. Previous people who have left are treated with respect, are treated as having made the decision that worked best for them, and are not vilified villains, we'll just be really alliterative, who are spoken of with disdain, who are stalked or harassed or in some way punished or penalized for leaving. It's a really green flag if people who have left the group are still visited and hung out with by people who are still in the group. If they have friends who have left and no one in the group is saying like, well, how can you still be friends with them? How can you maintain contact with them? They betrayed us. They left us. They're not like us anymore. How they don't even understand you the way we do. How can you maintain that friendship? That would be a red flag. If they're not saying that, if they're instead saying, oh, how's so-and-so? Are they doing well? That's great. We're so happy for them. That's a green flag. You want to see that people can leave a group without punishment. You want to see that people can leave a group and be remembered fondly, and that people can be happy for them, that they have gone on to do whatever is actually working for them. If they still show support and concern for someone, which can be a yellow flag if it's like, oh, well, we'll try and convince them to join back up by being their support system even though they've walked away. No, I mean like, if they couldn't attend anymore because things got really busy and stressful with work or family, and the group goes and helps them, that's a good sign. Instead of being like, well, your first priority should be the group always, and how dare you have a family or a job or, be sick. Green flags versus red flags. Being encouraged to still have individuated self-expression even at group events. Let me see if I can come up with a way to explain this. I have encountered groups where everyone has to wear white. Everyone has to wear the same jewelry. Everyone has to have their hair long and down. I'm thinking of actually there were two, there were two groups where this was the rule. You showed up wearing white, you had to have long hair, your hair had to be down. Yes, both of these groups were variations on Wicca. I'm not saying all Wicca's like this. I also knew a Dianic group where they didn't like their members to wear makeup or have any femme-presenting characteristics, because they were very much like, don't bow to the patriarchy by wearing makeup. You're trying to cater to the male gaze. If you want to be sexualized and objectified by men, then you don't belong here. No. It is a green flag when a group allows physical differentiation and doesn't demand conformity of self-expression. I know that we already talked about individuality, but we were specifically talking about individuality of belief or individuality of learning styles. A green flag is also individuality of what you fucking look like. Cults get weird about this. They get really controlling over how you dress, over how you do your makeup, and sometimes even over how you eat. There's a lot of research into controlling diets, and if you look at the way the right-wing natural health herbalist side of witchcraft has gone really weird with diet stuff, and really, if you look at like the trad wife witchcraft community and the way they're so controlling about what you wear and what you eat, you can see this. That would be red flags. Being like, wear whatever the fuck you want would be a green flag.
I'll be the disembodied voice off camera. Note that this is not necessarily talking about, for example, if you're going to participate in a ritual, then we ask that you wear this ritual robe. There's a difference between you are engaging in our ritual and we request that you wear ritual garb, and you have to dress a certain way to show up.
I was literally watching at Pagan Pride at one point where this person from one of these groups got up and was like, witches shouldn't wear black because that makes us all look evil and bad. And then she pointed at someone in the crowd who had a buzzed head and was like, and you shouldn't look like that. You should have long flowing locks like me. And it was like, what the fuck? That would be a red flag. That would be a red flag. I have so much to say about that particular group, but I'm not going to get into it right now. There is no unquestioning obedience of the elders, of the high priest and the high priestess, of the one particular teacher, instructor. Cults of personality can form around some very odd structures. It doesn't necessarily have to be the person who is in charge nominally. They may be a puppet of this person, but there's generally someone who is unquestionably obeyed in a cult. You can look at the cult of Trump to get, like, this person could tell people that the sky is orange and they'd be like, the sky is orange, right? But it's sometimes more subtle than that. In fact, a lot of the time it's more subtle than that. A green flag would be able to see people say no, see people prioritize things other than what that leader wants. See them say, I want to do something different for the full moon than what we normally do, and have that be encouraged. Basically, you should learn from your students. You should. They have their own wisdom. And we should be encouraging our students to teach us things. We are not infallible. We are not unquestionable authorities on everything. I get shit wrong a lot. I fuck up. I make mistakes. That's normal. That's healthy. That's human. And a green flag is when a group not only recognizes that about younger members or newer members, but about their leader as well. We want to recognize that people fuck up, people make mistakes, people need to learn through their whole lives. That's a green flag. Everyone learning together in a way that best suits their style of learning, and everyone getting better, and everyone making progress at the speed that works for them, including the person who is nominally in charge or is the leader of the group. They should also be learning. They should also be learning. Okay. Green flag, people help each other. Sometimes these groups are treated as the obligation and priority. I already kind of mentioned this in another one of the green flags, but it's really common for groups to take a lot and give very little back. There's actually some psychological things at work when this is happening. When we feel like we owe someone something, we become more likely to excuse the flaws of that person, to make excuses. The more, it's kind of like a good money after bad money problem, but like with everything from your money to your physical and emotional well-being, where the more you feel like you're obligated or like you owe some, the more you excuse their bad behavior and the more you give, because we want to validate what we've given so far. It's really unhealthy. So that would be the red flag version. But the green flag version is a group recognizing that everybody has so much on their plate right now. And not only making space for that with like not requiring attendance all the time, and accommodating different work schedules, and sometimes doing things on weekends and sometimes doing things on weekdays to make sure that everyone gets a chance, or being willing to do things through Zoom or another digital platform during this pandemic where people might be really scared of meeting in person. Rightfully so. The pandemic is not over, people. Really not. Anyway, a green flag would be accommodating all of those different things, all those different plates that people have in the air, and also assisting with it when possible. If you're going to be giving a lot of yourself to a group, they should be giving something back. Sometimes that's just instruction. Sometimes, and it should be valuable instruction, not just them reading out of a book. You can buy that book yourself. But also helping you. That would be a really green flag. And it's something that I feel is sometimes lacking in covens, temples, circles, groves, as compared to churches. One of the ways that churches keep people there is by bringing food to people when they're sick, by basically community support, social support. Covens tend to somehow just like not do that. I'm not saying all covens. This wouldn't be a green flag for some covens if there weren't ever anybody doing this, but that would be a green flag, is actually supporting their members and helping their members and taking care of their members. Encouraging you to learn elsewhere, encouraging you to also seek out different perspectives, encouraging you to read books other than the ones that they tell you to, encouraging you to learn from other teachers, encouraging you to watch TikTok or YouTube or be in a Facebook group or wherever, and interacting with other teachers. If they don't want you learning from anybody else, why? And one of the things that I've seen a lot is like, oh, well, they only require me to not learn from anybody else for a year and a day, and then I'm allowed to have other teachers. Do you think that's not long enough to like brainwash you and cult trap you? Because it is. It's way long enough. And no, I would never, ever agree to only learn from one person. That would just drive me up the wall. I use learning as one of the methods that I keep myself alive. So, no, that wouldn't work for me. So, Yun just came back into the room and added kind of an addendum on the green flag being no unquestioning following of a leader. That another green flag that's kind of related but sort of distinct is welcoming questions about what the fuck you're doing. Um, so for example, if you are summoning things, why are we summoning this? How are we keeping it contained? What happens if something goes wrong? Who takes responsibility for this? Or if you're performing a particular ritual, hey, why do we do this? You know, I did actually just think of a couple others, so I'm going to run through them really quick, but that would be a good one. Encouraging questioning is a green flag. Who, what, why, where, when, these questions being welcomed. And not just being told, well, this is tradition and we've always done it this way, and therefore you should just do what we tell you. That would be a red flag. Another green flag, they're not being missing stairs. You're not being taken aside eventually after you have a negative interaction with someone and being told, oh yeah, actually somebody probably should have told you. We all know not to let Dave drive us home after a ritual because he gets handsy. Sorry that somehow we missed telling you about this missing stair, but yeah, by the way, don't let Dave drive you home. And you go, why the fuck is Dave allowed here? Which brings me sort of to an addendum of this is not welcoming everyone. That's a green flag. Not welcoming people who are predatory, who are Nazis. Like, to give you an example of like a massive predatory system of belief, you know, not welcoming the handsy guy who drives people home after rituals, or the person who follows people into bathrooms, which we got in major trouble with a bunch of groups when we were practicing in Vegas, when we forbid this guy from coming to our shop anymore. And people were like, he just doesn't understand what he's doing. You're being like really awful to him. You know, you need to help him understand. He liked to follow people into bathrooms and then lock the door behind him and not let them leave. He'd had it explained multiple times. Yeah. Anyway, so not having those missing stairs, having addressed it, not welcoming everyone because not everyone should be welcomed. If you welcome everyone no matter what they've done, that's a red flag. I don't like, one of the green flags I've seen other people mention is not having any financial obligation. I kind of disagree with this. Groups saying, hey, everybody chip in for the food that we're having at this ritual, totally normal. Groups saying, hey, the materials that we need for what we're doing cost this much. Can everybody throw in that amount of money? Totally normal. A teacher who is doing all the research and presenting all the information should have the right to charge for a class that they are teaching. But this should be within reason. And what's reasonable is going to be something that you have to determine for yourself. But for example, we knew a coven that required that you, before joining and doing their year in a day, during which you could not learn from anybody else, buy $500 worth of tools from the shop that was owned by the high priest and the high priestess. If you did not buy those materials from them, or if you didn't want to buy them and wanted to just use something that was on hand or in your house until you could acquire your own tools, if you decided the system worked for you, then you couldn't learn from them. That would be a red flag. Asking for your banking details, pooling finances, all of those are the red flag version of this. But asking for any kind of financial contribution, no. I actually would say that saying, hey, let's all chip in to the potluck is actually a green flag.
Disembodied voice from off camera again. There's actually an inverted version of this that is a red flag. If the high priest or high priestess has the lovely house with the lovely grounds or the store or the location where everything is done, and they're providing all of the materials, and they're providing all of the food, you wind up in a position where no one can tell that person no.
I know exactly the group you're talking about. Actually, there's two. Again, two different ones than the ones I was talking about earlier, where the wealthy person winds up in charge.
Because if you don't do what they say, they can take their ball and go home and throw you out of said home. So
being willing to do things in different places, to let somebody else host, to do a potluck instead of them saying, no, if you guys come over here, I'll just buy all the food.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one.
You know who I'm...
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right. Having a healthy way of resolving disputes between members would also be a green flag. What that looks like is going to look really different from group to group to group. It's gonna be different. But having a healthy way for two people to disagree can look anything like, hey, you two just won't be paired with each other for stuff anymore. That's fine. We can all, agree to disagree and agree that you two don't have to be friends. That would be a healthy way of resolving the dispute. The two of you need to sit in front of the entire coven for mediation with the high priestess, and she will determine who is right and who is wrong. And all of your dirty laundry will be aired in front of everyone, and you will be required to apologize if you were viewed in the wrong. That's an unhealthy way of resolving disputes. Disputes should always be discussed in private and details shared with the rest of the group by consent of all parties. Unless, of course, it's like this person sexually assaulted or physically assaulted me, in which case the entire group should be warned and that person should no longer be there. You see how this could vary a little bit in how it works, but there are unhealthy versions of this and there are green flag versions of this.
Did you mention being allowed to watch?
Oh, no, I didn't. Another green flag from the disembodied voice off camera. Being allowed to observe before you decide that you want to join is a really good sign. There are groups that require that you sign on the dotted line and make financial contributions and that you have been learning from them for many years before you are allowed to learn what the religion is even about. In fact, there are religions where that's the entire model, is that you're constantly trying to get into the upper echelons and learn the secrets. And to do so, you've made major financial contributions. You've reshaped your family's lives. And I think those religions are structured like cults. And now that we're no longer an interfaith organization, but specifically a witchcraft organization, I can say that. I think it's really unhealthy, and a green flag would be allowing you to observe and learn before you've signed on any dotted lines. Obviously, red flags that we've talked about in the past involve things like being asked to have sex with people as part of rituals, which does not mean that sex magic is always bad or that you should never participate in sex rituals. But a green flag would be you being able to say, I would like to learn sex magic without having to have sex with the high priest. I would like to learn these techniques to use with my partner and not be pressured to use them with anyone in the circle. Or I would like to learn these techniques to use alone with my body, with no one present but me and maybe whatever spirits I'm connecting with, which, like, there is sex magic where it's just you and you're not involving any spirits or, yeah. I teach sex magic classes. That's not the point of this video. But saying I don't want to have sex with anybody should not be treated with disdain or pressure, and instead should be a choice that you are making, that you are permitted and encouraged to make. That would be a green flag. Sex magic is a big part of a lot of spiritual traditions. Being able to say, hey, it's cool that you want to have sex for this ritual. I would like to just observe. Should be allowed and encouraged. All right, so I guess I'll sum that green flag up as consent matters. Consent matters is the green flag there. Enthusiastic, ongoing, unequivocal, well-informed consent matters and is prioritized by the group, that would be a green flag. Last one I think that I want to talk about is accountability. We talked about there's no one questioning following of a leader, but like, for example, we had a public event where we had a musician perform, and then someone ended up coming in and saying, hey, do you not know that that person is a rapist? Like, how could you say that you're a safe place and allow a rapist to perform? We had never been told by anyone that this person had been accused of rape. This was a massive missing stair. And so I apologized to our community. I made a Facebook post about it on both our professional page and our private page. I said, this person will never be permitted to perform at any of our events. I warned the rest of the covens, temples, circles, and groves in the area, and frustratingly had multiple leaders of them be like, oh yeah, we know. And I was like, and you just didn't tell me? And they're like, it's not really our job to call you up and tell you when someone's been accused of sexual assault. And I was like,
what is your job exactly?
We all interact with each other at major events like Bone Dance and Pagan Pride. Come on, y'all. Let's have some solidarity and not have these missing stairs in our community. Anyway, so I apologized. I fucked up. Having accountability when you have done something wrong, because it will happen. So for example, if people are saying, oh, what happens in the circle stays in the circle. You know, if a god possesses me, what I do doesn't count. No, that's not accountability. You need to be responsible for your actions. So a group that encourages accountability from everyone, even the people who are in charge, that would be a massive green flag. Okay, I think I covered everything. In fact, I probably over-covered a few things. This video got a little long. But that's my answer. Please feel free in the comments to share green flags that you know of. And as always, send us questions for Ask a Witch. And remember to like and subscribe. And yeah, have a good day, everyone.